Today we're going to be talking to Jonathan Cottrell, the Chief Growth Officer of Mindup. Jonathan, how are you?
I'm doing well, Miranda. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Happy to talk and hear about all the things that you've got going with Mindup and all the other companies. So I'd love to just start this conversation off with a general background of, what you do, what you're working on, and how it happens.
Yeah, sure. Well, I thank you again for the invitation related to Mindup. It's been fun working on that. We really launched that kind of in the February timeframe, and we are a tool that's trying to help a lot of people just have better meetings. We think meetings can be the bane of a lot of people's existence within teams, especially remote teams. And so we're trying to make that better for everybody. And that is connected to a company called ETW, where I serve as the Chief Growth Officer. And so we saw a lot of success in helping companies improve their results by focusing on their meetings first. So that's what we're doing, and really excited to be part of it.
Yeah, I mean, you hear about remote meetings and they happen back to back to back, and it just seems like this constant, that's what your life becomes. How are you making the meetings better?
You're absolutely right. First of all, on the remote side, I'm sure we're all in a state of Zoom fatigue. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that I'm sure you've heard, especially for those that are part of various types of teams, especially in this remote environment, that a lot of times these meetings, it could be a Slack message or an email, right? And yet we're having a lot of people spend their valuable time on that. And so one of the things that we do at Mindup is we're really just helping the meeting stay more focused on the outcomes, and helping people be clear about what their topics are, what the outcomes are that they're trying to focus on, making sure that the follow through happens after that meeting so that people are circling back. And so we have a really interactive agenda tool. We have connections and integrations in with solutions like Slack. And we're just trying to help teams be more productive and, again, stay focused on what matters most.
So, I mean, did this idea come about of personal experience with the other company, and you were like, we need to make this better, let's just fix it for everyone?
Well, actually, we were doing a lot of consulting with senior leadership teams in particular around this, and we have a methodology for helping them improve their results focused on their most important number, and then helping drive results for that most important number. So in doing that, we learned a lot about what was working and what wasn't working for teams. And so, especially in the state of COVID, we didn't even know that was about to happen, or the full impact that was going to have. But obviously now in an environment that's almost entirely remote for a number of teams, just helping, again, everyone have that communication and opportunity to think through what it is that they're going to talk about a little bit before, rather than just showing up and then trying to dig into that. So we've seen, people are really loving it, and we're excited to see where it continues to go.
Yeah, and I mean, and the topic of Zoom fatigue, and I mean, I don't know a better word for this, but I'm having like fatigue of almost like resources. I don't know if that's the right way to call it, because now we've got Asana, we've got Google Drive, we've got email, we've got Slack, we've got text messages, phone calls, Zoom calls, and tracking all of that information. As we're kind of getting into your product and making meetings more efficient, how do we add that without adding a whole other layer to what people need to do every day?
Yeah, that's a great point. And actually, that's one of the reasons we started building Mindup too, is we see that there's all this fragmentation to these number of assets and tools and all these different things that people are using. So, for example, perhaps someone is taking notes for their meeting in Evernote individually, and then, they're creating a Google Doc, and then they're, sharing some action items and things there. And then someone else has a presentation, and there's just all these different sources. And so really making it something that's simple, focused, collaborative, and then also, again, the opportunity to integrate that. We have some initial integrations, but we have a number of other ones that are going to be launching into that too. So you mentioned Asana, for example, as people are creating those action items, just allowing that to go out, and just helping people stay on top of what it is that they're talking about, what it is that they're deciding as a team, and not letting stuff drop off, right? If you have a good outcome in a meeting, you want to make sure there's follow through. So that's what we're helping often do.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things I personally struggle with. We'll be talking about, all of these great ideas for this project, and so is going to do this, and then so is going to do that. And then, one person follows through and the other person doesn't. And then it just vanishes. And it's like, so are we going to have another meeting about this? And, in 3 or 4 months, should I save this talk? Should I delete it? Is this actually happening?
Yeah, the meeting about the meeting. Well, one of the things I really did learn a lot just in joining with ETW related to that, and just how to make those meetings more effective, and just giving a little bit of forethought before that meeting happens as to what is it that we're talking about, what's the agenda, having your contributions be there, so that you're also not coming into a meeting and just having a status update. I mean, I'm sure you've experienced that, where you just get in and then people are regurgitating what they did. Well, that doesn't need to be the meeting. Make the meeting a time to really collaborate and dig into what is it that you're going to do, and thinking through solutions, not just providing updates.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to hear your thoughts on, you know how to help people have more effective meetings, but what are some of the main blockers you see people doing that are causing the meetings to not be effective? Like, what shouldn't we do?
What shouldn't we do? Oh gosh, well, that could be a whole another interview. I do think some of the easiest wins are, again, thinking through what is the agenda and what is it that we're going to talk about, and having a little bit of forethought from everyone entering into that meeting, so that their heads are around that. That honestly could be as little as 5 minutes of just giving some thought, understanding what that outcome is, having them also purpose and rules of engagement for that meeting. What is it that you're hoping everyone to contribute toward? What is the outcome that you're trying to achieve? Without those things, really you're just spinning your wheels and spending a lot of time. So it's as much about just outcome, really thinking through the structure of what you're going to be talking about, and then providing a little bit of information as context heading into that, so it doesn't have to be the first 30 minutes of that whole meeting just providing updates or background or context.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest mistakes I make is I'll set a meeting up for someone to chat, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to remember what this is, and then I don't put a description, and then we show up both on the call, and I'm like, okay, so what was this for?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we see it all the time, and that's what we're helping people overcome.
So as you've kind of launched your product, has the market been, really responsive to it? Have they been hesitant to switch over? I mean, what's the adoption rate been?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. We're still learning a ton. Obviously, that's a process that's never done. But we did launch initially on Product Hunt in February. We glad to report we were the #1 product hunt of the day, and so that was exciting for us. And had 800 or so people vote us up, and it's been really cool to just watch the traction since that point. That was a great launching point, but ultimately, we've found some other really good channels to drive user acquisition. And right now, we're just listening and talking with our users as much as possible. We're doing that on a daily and regular basis to just really understand, hey, what's the next thing that our users are asking for? What are the problems that they have, and how do we continue to accelerate our innovation there? So the response has been good. I think to your point earlier about, hey, there's another tool. People not only have Zoom fatigue, they have tool fatigue. So how is it that you can make that something simple that really is additive enough that it makes sense for them to continue to use and engage with their team? And so we're seeing all different types of use cases. We're seeing people use it just individually for themselves to stay on track and keep notes, others with their teams, with boards, with clients. So it's been exciting to see how people are applying it.
Yeah, and I was actually just going to ask that question. So given that you are a SaaS company, and this could be an individual tool or it could be a company-wide tool, are you seeing that more companies are adapting it for their teams, or individuals? Where's the popularity there?
Yeah, we really are building for what I would call B2P, right? Right now, which is business to professional. So it is, being targeted into a workplace environment. It's not necessarily just to, any type of consumer. But we're not necessarily going after full companies yet.
Mm.
We're really kind of seeing it bottom up growth more so than top down at this point. So we want to find the professionals that are looking and have a methodology for helping improve their own meetings or really after that increase in productivity, and then spread it to their teams. Sharing is pretty easy. So that's what we're seeing right now. Well, longer term, we definitely have plans for larger teams and organizations, but right now we're really focused on those individual users who want to be the workplace hero, who really want to improve their meetings and be more productive.
Yeah, and I was just kind of thinking about that, and I was like, if I was to sign up for this tool or have this, how would I be able to communicate and kind of prep those things in advance for it to be effective as I go into meetings with other people or my team? Like, how would I use that?
Yeah, well, you should see how easy it is that we've made that. But again, integrations with things like Slack, so it's really easy to either send it off to an individual, to a particular channel, so that you can say, hey, prepare for this meeting that's upcoming, or review the meeting notes. One-click share button, copy, share links, super easy for people to get in and start contributing. So we've made that pretty seamless, and that's where a lot of our growth is coming to. It's not necessarily just from other channels as we find new users, but the users that are using it, sharing it with their teams and others that they're meeting with. If you think about it, actually, meetings are the most viral activity that we engage in a business environment, right? It's a place where we have that social activity. It is the social network and connective tissue within a company. So it's been fun to see how it's been spreading.
Yeah, no, I mean, meetings, it's like, oh, I actually look forward to being able to talk to this person. And, I also don't want to sound like an idiot in front of this person, so I need to prepare in advance. And
that's a real reason. A lot of people, you want to look prepared, right? If you're going in a meeting with your boss, or let's say your boss's boss and or a client or someone else, you want to feel prepared and like you're ready for that. And so few people really do, or they prepare in other ways, right? Maybe they're preparing a presentation or something else, but it's not as collaborative then. It's more talking head rather than, hey, let's talk through this together. So that's what we're trying to help foster.
Yeah, and avoid where someone's takeaway notes is literally on a Post-it note.
Yeah, so many scribbled journals. There's still science that says so long as you're writing it sticks more, right? I'm a big journaler. I'll bring in my notes. I'm a huge Post-it notes guy. So I'm for sure a big fan of that. But again, that's not as shareable. So to your point, it's a lot easier if you can make it really good place to take notes, and then very, very quick and easy to follow up. A lot of times that's a huge problem with meetings, is the follow up doesn't happen. And now it's, for us, it's 2 clicks and you share out all of the meeting notes that were taken during that. Super easy and super fast to follow through.
And I mean, you've created such a robust set of products that can come with this. There had to have been some major trial and error to roll this out. How did that process go?
Oh, trial and error. Well, no, startups, right? It's a very linear path. No, it's been fun. We again at ETW, at least on that side, we've been helping companies for a number of years with their senior leadership teams improve their results. We had a product that had a number of different kind of performance management functionalities, and meetings were a small aspect of this. So we decided to create this product as a spin-off and really go deep into the meeting space. So that has been a shorter effort, and but one that we're learning. One of the things that's huge for me and for our team is just always looking at the data. People might say something, they might say what they want, but really look at the data and see what it is that they're actually interested in, how they're using it. So we have 4 different analytics systems built into our product, just so that we can learn as much as possible and iterate based upon what people are actually doing. And that process never ends. That's the ongoing process of product development and management.
Yeah. And your journey going into this, I mean, obviously you were part of, one company, and now you're kind of a part of this sub product. How did you feel about kind of stepping in and really, leaning into this new company?
Oh, well, I love starting things. That's just part of who I am. If you ask me
Mhm.
3 words about myself, one of them is for sure starter. And so I
Mhm.
love creating something from nothing. There's nothing that brings me more joy than that. I really do love the process of co-creating with a team that's excited about that, applying creativity, coming up with the shortest path to delivering something that's minimally viable and then iterating upon it. And so this is just one of the steps in that journey. And it's been fun to work with the team on this.
And your team, I mean, talking about solving meetings, and I mean, does your team have a lot of Zoom meetings? Are you guys meeting in person? How do you guys communicate in your meetings?
Well, we do eat our own dog food. That is for sure. Again, a big believer in that. If you're building something and you don't have the need and you're not scratching your own itch and it's not something that you're going to be using, well, you have no business working on that. But we don't necessarily have a ton of meetings. It's not necessarily about helping with more meetings.
Mhm.
We're helping people with that, sure. But it really is more about just making those meetings more impactful, more productive. So when you do have that, you are prepared, that you know what the follow through is, again, the purpose. And we're having moved into a fully remote environment over the last year. That's been a learning process even for a number of the team members, including myself. How do we get better at communicating and preparing and focusing on what matters? And so we use Slack intensely. Sometimes we have the impromptu meetings when a conversation is going to be faster than the Slack thing. But then for the meetings that we do have, we're always prepared for those. We know what we're talking about, and we have the follow up. So it's been really helpful using that, and it just becomes a better and better experience as we continue to grow it.
That's good. I mean, I asked Chris over at Trainual the same question, and the same kind of answer. Of course, we use our own product. Of course, we use that to innovate and iterate. And then, the same question I asked, I'm going to ask you. As you're rolling out these new features in your products, are you guys your own beta testers?
No. So I mean, we use the feature, but we're on a pretty speedy iteration cycle. So we're releasing at least one time every 3 weeks, but usually a couple releases every 3 weeks. And so within that sprint or iteration framework, we're pushing this stuff out to our customers. We're knowing what we want to track. And then we use Intercom as one major data source to then be able to get that feedback back. And it's been really fun to come up with creative solutions to learn what people want. I'll give you an example. So we are really focused on integrations. That's a huge aspect of the value of the platform for us, and value for our strategy long term. But integrations, you can spend a lot of time developing those. So what we did is we actually just launched a very simple and one sprint page that had a number of the integrations that we were thinking about, and we made it possible for people to vote on the integrations that they wanted. So as a result of that, we learned which integrations to prioritize first. So rather than just saying, hey, this is what we want to do, or rather than go out and do surveys or anything else like that, it's baked into the product. It's right there, and we're getting regular feedback about not only what integrations they want, but then when they vote for that, we're asking, how do you want this integration to work? What value are you trying to get out of that? And so that's an example of us, doing something that was minimally viable, simple, and we're collecting data in the process so that we can prioritize what's next.
Have you ever been surprised with some of the integrations that rise to the top?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for example, as much as I knew people liked it and were using it, Notion, we had our integrations alphabetized. So Notion was kind of down the list, and yet people were flocking to vote for Notion. They love Notion. So unfortunately, they actually don't have a really clear API yet, but they're about to launch one. So as soon as they do, we know it's super valuable to our users.
Yeah, I whenever I think about what my clients actually want, at least speaking from Galvanize, I'm like, oh, there's no way they're going to be interested in that. And I'm like, that's the most popular thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
always fun to see. Again, what do people do? What do they? Where do they put their value? Not where do we think they do?
That's how I learned that ping pong tournaments are very important.
Always.
So as you're kind of developing your, company, your business, how is branding playing a role in that? What does your brand look like? What message are you trying to communicate?
Well, from the get-go, again, we had this ETW, which was focused on senior leadership teams, consultants, Mindup being a spin out from that, but being much more kind of consumer-oriented, sign up, not an enterprise level sale. So we wanted that brand to be fun. I think that's one thing that especially brands like Slack and others really showed early on, that we're going to still have fun and be playful with the brand, and that can still work within a team environment. I love some others that are out there as well that have just done an exceptionally good job at that. We're big Loom users. Loom is super powerful in my opinion, and just liked that whole feel. There are a number of others out there too that we looked at. So we wanted it to be fun, playful, have more illustrations. Intercom is another example, I think, of a team-oriented or business-oriented SaaS that has done that pretty well. And I'm really proud of the brand that has been created. And it's very connected to the app. It's not like, hey, we have this marketing presence and then there's this product. They're one and the same, and it's been fun to build that.
Would you say that that's kind of contributed to how your team dynamic is, or your general team culture?
I think, yeah, I think so. I think in the kind of the fun, playful, small, agile, I mean, those different feelings are conveyed definitely within the team environment too. So yeah, the person that leads our marketing efforts on the side, her name is Haley Johnson, and she's super bubbly and fun. And so she's done a great job helping lead that. And I think some of her great fun personality comes through in that as well.
That's good. I love it when companies can really just have fun with their brand and fun with their product, because then it just feels, better to use. If you like the style of a tool, you like the workflow, the usability, it just becomes second nature to use.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's what we're hoping for.
So as you've kind of gone through, you've iterated, you've branded, you've launched, what is some general advice that you have for someone who might be starting their own company or wanting to branch out with an existing company to a new product line?
Oh, wow. Well, both of those are rather different, but having been in the Phoenix startup community for quite a while and helping encourage entrepreneurship within those that have potentially, been in an existing environment, they have that big idea, they're ready to branch out. I think there's like a whole spectrum of entrepreneur types, right? And there's not one type that is better than another. It's just, we have different experiences. Maybe you're within your own company, a larger company, and you're kind of an intrapreneur, right? And you are building and creating and starting projects from within. I know I've had that experience. I was part of GoDaddy for quite a while and had an opportunity to launch a ton of products there. And I loved doing that with the teams that I was a part of. Maybe you have a big startup SaaS idea. You want to go that traditional kind of, VC route. You want to get the investors and you want to go out that way. And then maybe you're someone that's working within a larger company and you have a particular skill set and you just want to become a solopreneur or have a really small boutique group that you're helping serve, that a lifestyle business. None of these are wrong, but I think the advice that I would give to any one of those people would be very different dependent upon who they are, what the market is that they're chasing after. At the end of the day, I would say this: just start. I think just getting that going, having the shortest path to validation. Some of the ways I've done that in the past have even just been telling some friends I'm going to do it and having them hold me accountable to it. So I think it doesn't take much, but you have to do something. You have to take that first step, and you want to make that go as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I mean, I think I hear from GoDaddy all the time of that entrepreneur, mindset that you guys have, and I think it's so cool that you're able to identify the different categories of not only how someone could be an entrepreneur, but how people's journeys can vary, and you have so many different paths to be able to be an entrepreneur. It's not all black and white.
Definitely. Well, I mean, I have, 3 kids. My wife and I have been married 16 years. We have a 14-year-old daughter, a 12-year-old son, and a 9-year-old son. And each of them are just so different. My 12-year-old son is very much like me, has a lot of ideas. He's very entrepreneurial, has some neighborhood businesses already. He's investing in stocks. Then there's my daughter, who's super creative, incredibly, intelligent in that regard, but she doesn't have as much of that like drive or wanting to charge for the thing. And then there's my youngest, who I have no idea what he's going to do. We'll see. I think each and every one of them are different, and so we see that within the entrepreneur landscape too. And I think just knowing who it is that you already are, not who do you want to be, but who is it that you already are, and based upon who you are, your identity, how is it that you can apply that in the best possible way to whatever it is that you're doing. I know I'm a starter, so I shouldn't go work for a company that's been around for 60 years. I'm probably going to try there and feel crushed by the bureaucracy and the slowness of things. But everyone's different. And so I was talking with someone today who works in a nonprofit environment. She's truly an entrepreneur. She's CEO of a nonprofit and really innovating within the education landscape. Well, I couldn't go up against the regulations and policies and the politicians that are out there, but she's doing that. So we just have to know where it is that we fit and go after it.
Yeah, that's great advice. I personally, I'm like reevaluating. I'm like, who am I in this game? Is there a reason that I like to work for a company that services startups? Am I? And I'm just like having this mini crisis in my head, but it's great food for thought.
Well, let's talk about that later, Miranda.
Well, circling back to, the company as it is today, what is next?
What's next? Just continuing to listen to users, learn. We right now we have the good fortune of being a part of another company and having learned a lot from that. We have revenue coming in from that. Mindup isn't revenue generating yet because we focused on getting out there, generating users, acquiring new users, getting really good feedback. So one of the things that we do plan to do this year is roll out paid plans. That's going to be a whole new learning process right there. So we have the top of the funnel really working from an acquisition standpoint. We have to activate those users and then drive them towards revenue for the ones that want to pay that. But it will be a freemium offering in an ongoing way. So we'll have some free users, some paid. We have to deliver value to all of the users to vie for their attention and then eventually vie for their dollars.
Yeah, I mean the freemium model, it's my favorite. That's how I have so many apps on my phone that I pay for, because I'm like, you got me hooked on the free version, and I just had to have the enhanced features, and here we are. And now I have $72 a month in subscriptions that I can't live without.
That's great. I actually on my personal website at jonathancottrell.com, I put a page for all of my favorite tools. So I have my 55 recommended tools to do life the way I do it. So I hear you on figuring out and finding those tools that are essentials for you and that really help drive. But if you're interested, that's where I have all the tools that I can't live without, similar to you.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'm going to double my subscription costs, and it's just going to make my life so much better.
There you go.
Well, how can our listeners learn more about your company?
Go to Mindup, that's MINDUP.co, mindup.co, and sign up for free, completely free. We're not going to bait and switch you on that. It's a free product, and we just want to deliver value. Start comparing that to how you're running meetings today. We'd love to hear from you. We're listening intensely. If you're also interested, if you're the type, anyone that's listening to this, I'm sure is more the type of kind of an early adopter. So we do have a power user program where we'll do some interviews with those users, give a gift card kind of after a month of just providing some feedback and some early testing, and it really helps us generate a ton of ideas and innovation for the product. So we're just going to keep doing that, and I'd love to hear from you. And if you want to tweet me at PHXJC, Phoenix JC, PHXJC, that's another way to get in touch with me.
That's awesome. You're already cooler than me. You're using the Twitter, and I haven't even moved over to using Twitter.
Oh, Miranda, you got to get it.
I'm like, what is a tweet? How do you tweet someone? How do you? Well, that'll be my next podcast. You know, how does Miranda get by without having a Twitter? Well, thank you so much for your time. And I am definitely going to be logging on and figuring out how I can be better at meetings. So thank you for your time, and we'll be in touch soon.
Thanks, Miranda. Appreciate it.